Hey guys, welcome back to another Scooby-Doo review. Today I'll be reviewing Which is which is the 13th episode of Scooby-Doo Where Are You? So yeah, let's get straight into the review. So the episode opens up as we see this mysterious swamp and a boat with a zombie in it with a lantern, and there's also a witch there as well. And then they cut to the gang, and they're driving through. They're just driving on a road. They get lost. They're trying to go fishing, and they pull over and ask this mysterious character for directions, but it's actually the zombie, and Shaggy was the one who was asking, so that's just not going to end well, and they quickly drive out of there, and they go to the next town, and there they meet Zeke, the owner of this food store, and he tells them that there is a zombie haunting basically this town and in the swamp, and there's a witch there as well, and they basically, no one goes in the swamp anymore, and no one ever goes in the town because of the zombie and the witch, and they Scooby eats some jumping beans by mistake, and makes a bit of a mess of the place. So Shaggy and Scooby stay there to help clean up. Fred, Daphne, and Velma, they go clean up while Shaggy and Scooby go check out Zeke's friend Zeb's place, who's the only one brave enough to stay, just like Zeke. And when they get down there, they know it's his house because it says his name on his letterbox. They go inside. It's really, really spooky. Cobwebs everywhere. Everything's dark. All the furniture's covered in dust. They don't think that Zeke's been there for a while. Scooby checks out a noise outside, but finds a chipmunk there instead. And then runs back inside, and the zombie slams the door on him. And then Shaggy calls saying he found Zeb, but unfortunately it looks like the witch got to him first because he's small. He's like a little doll, a voodoo doll, they call it, with all these nails in it. They take it back to show the rest of the gang, and Velma just says it's a voodoo doll, it's not actually Zeb. He didn't actually shrink. The witch has probably taken him, assuming it is a voodoo doll, and witches, they're involved in voodoo dolls, so they decide to go after them in the swamp. And then the witch and the zombie, when they go into the swamp in their little boat, the gang are hiding behind a tree in a boat as well, and they row after them, but they disappear, and they see multiple signs saying go back, leave because a witch, enter at your own risk. And then they eventually come to the witch's shack, where Zeke was explaining the witch first brought to life the zombie, and then they see voodoo dolls in the corner of the room of Daphne, Fred, Velma, and Shaggy. There's none of Scooby. Interesting. Then Scooby grabs a nail and shoves it up Scooby's Shaggy's bum, and really, well, it's just a fork apparently. That's what Fred said, but it was obviously because of what Scooby did to the voodoo doll. And then the witch appears, and Daphne basically tells her that she's being a bit of a nuisance and she should really stop, and then the witch gets angry at her and makes her disappear, and then she disappears, and then they look down and you can see on the rug that Daphne's footprints slide which means there must be a trapdoor underneath. So they go around and underneath the shack, and there is a pulley, and it opens the exact spot where Daphne was standing on the rug, and Scooby spots some footprints. They follow the footprints to this old riverboat, and they see the zombies' boat outside where they go rowing in, and there's a kooky little metal tip pole at the end of the oar. I wonder what's that used for, and in the top left picture on the screen now, on the boat, you can see there's the zombie and the witch hiding, and then Shaggy and Scooby go aboard. They split up and they go one way, and they search this box, and inside the box is the zombie, and then the zombie goes chasing after them. They run up into like this saloon area, and they're playing cards, and the zombie gets their attention, and then they run back down. They hide in this little closet, and the zombie runs past, and Velma and Fred are searching for Daphne. They hear movements behind a wall, and they open the trap door and they free Daphne. But unfortunately the witch appears and she chases after them down into a coal chute. So they're stuck down a coal chute for a little bit. And Shaggy and Scooby decide that they've got to run away from the zombie and actually get out of the area, because the zombie could actually come back soon. So they pretend to dress up as the witch to, scare him off. Shaggy does his great witch voice, and it works for a little bit until the zombie spots Scooby's tail and starts tugging on it, and he can't get away. And then they eventually get away. Scooby has to free his tail from the zombie, and then they just run. But then they're cornered by the witch and the zombie. They keep running back and forth, not knowing what to do. Because they can't really go any other way. So then they decide to go after the witch. They play, odds or even with the witch, and they put their hands on the broomstick, and they win. Then they take the broomstick from them, and they jump off the cliff, and they think they can fly away, but they smash down into a boat. Shaggy's still wearing his witch costume, and Fred, Daphne, and Velma come down and spot them, and they think that Shaggy's the witch, and then they decide to use the boat themselves. So they start it up, and they go on a little boat ride. But at the end of the entrance of the little area, there's like this balloon of the witch, and it's on top of Shaggy. Shaggy thinks the actual witch is attacking him, but it's just a balloon dummy. And then they're going a little bit too fast once they clear out the shack, and they the riverboat, and they drop anchor. But the anchor hooks up a armored bank car, and inside that armoured bank car is money, and Fred realises that's exactly what these two are after. So they plant all the money in this special area. Then the witch and zombie eventually spot it. Shaggy and Scooby are hiding in some of the money sacks, and they basically tease them, get their attention, and then run back towards the trap. Fred gets ready to sling the tree to smack the witch and zombie onto this car, but it accidentally gets Scooby as well. But then Shaggy uses a fishing line and grabs Scooby's money sack and frees him, and Daphne and Velma slam the doors on the zombie and witch, who fall inside the armoured bank car, and they wait for the sheriff to show up, tying up the two crooks. They turn out to be Zeb and Zeke. The only two people brave enough to stay obviously were the people that were behind it, they decided to play a witch and zombie to scare everyone out of the swamp so they could search for the armoured bank car that they drove there ages ago, and they waited all this time to find it, but they couldn't find it, so they had to use a winch and the metal tip pole on the end of the zombie's oar to find it, because using the oar it would hit the car and it'd make a metallic sound, and they'd eventually know that that is the armoured bank car, and they would use the winch to hook it up and get all the money for themselves. And then Velma shows the sheriff how the witch was able to disappear using this little red wire, and that's how she could disappear and reappear.
I gotta hand it to you kids, finding that missing armored car after all these years. But who are these two?
Don't you recognize them, Sheriff?
Why, it's Zeb and Zeke.
They were the ones that hijacked the armored car and sunk it in the swamp.
Then they waited all this time till it was safe to look for it, but couldn't find it.
So they invented the witch and zombie act to keep people away.
While they searched the swamp with a metal-tipped pole.
I get it. The pole would make a metallic sound when it hit the armored car.
Yeah, and then they'd pull it up with the winch.
They had us fooled for a while with an old smokescreen trick. Show 'em, Velma.
Zeke the witch could appear and vanish as if by magic behind a cover of smoke. Watch.
Well, they sure had everything figured out. But where they're going, I don't think their disappearing act will ever work.
And now at the end of the episode, Scooby's still fishing in that little bucket, and he actually manages to catch a fish as the gang drive off. And yeah, that's the end of the episode. Another great episode. Starting to review some greater episodes later on from Scooby-Doo Are You Now. I give this one a 10 out of 10. Definitely one of the better ones of the 10 out of 10s as well. The witch and zombie were just amazing. The spookiness in this episode was amazing. One of the best episodes for spookiness. The atmosphere was great. I like how there was only, well, apart from the sheriff, I liked how it was only Zeb and Zeke, so we knew who the bad guys technically were. But they still played really, really nicely, better than other episodes that try to use that, for example. So, yeah, I really, really enjoyed the episode. I hope you guys did as well. Stay tuned for my next episode, where I'll be reviewing Spooky Space Kook, which is the 15th episode of Scooby-Doo Are You. The 14th episode, Go Away, Ghost Ship, is already up on the channel, so go check it out. And yeah, stay tuned for my review tomorrow.
Here, Double Ugly, go buy yourself a new face.